call to order this meeting of the Community Preservation Committee at 5:33 p.m., February 22nd, 2024. We will do a roll call for attendance here. Susan?
Here.
Susan's here. Wisty?
Here.
Wisty is here virtually. Donna?
Here.
Garth is not here, and he said he would not be able to make it tonight. David? Here. Amy?
Here.
And Travis, I am here. So we do have a quorum. We're all here except for Garth. Okay, so first item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Did we get minutes for the last meeting? Okay, we don't have the minutes yet, so.
Oh, did you?
You did?
I sent them in to you, Christian.
Oh, I mean, I wasn't planning on reviewing them today anyway.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
We'll review those at the next meeting, I guess. Since we didn't get those in time. All right, so let's get on to the real business for tonight, which is our public feedback session on Community Preservation Act projects. We do have, oh wait, was I supposed to share the presentation?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Are you in the Zoom?
I was getting ready to. One moment, please. While I'm loading this, for the people who just came in, there is a sign-up sheet over here if you know you want to speak about something or if you have questions for us. You don't have to sign up if you don't want to. And I also have a copy of all of the applications over there if you would like to review them. All right, I'm in the meeting.
I will make you a co-host.
Oh yeah, thank you, Donna. We are the CPC is recording this meeting, and if anyone else is recording this, you're required to let me know. Thank you for the reminder, Donna. Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Yeah, I gotta.
All right, we have a presentation. We're trying to get it up, but we have to get permissions to be able to do that. Sorry about this. In addition to the applications over here, we do have all the full applications on the website. So if anyone wants to check that out on the website, they can do that too.
Nice.
All right, so we're just going to do a little brief presentation here just to kind of orient everybody, and then we're going to open it up for questions and feedback on projects. So just to give a little overview of who we are and what's going on right now, and we are the Community Preservation Committee, and we make recommendations to City Council for funding projects in 4 categories: historic preservation, affordable housing, recreation, and open space. And this is an overview of the process that projects go through in order to potentially receive funding. At the beginning of the fiscal year, we create or update our community preservation plan that outlines overall goals for the types of projects that we think are most important. That's done also through a public input process. And then people submit pre-applications, and we use those to determine whether projects are eligible for CPA funding, because there are very specific rules about what can and cannot be funded. After that, we get full applications for any projects that were deemed eligible, and if people move forward with the application process. In our past 4 or 5 meetings, we've been going through all those applications. Like I said, we have copies of them over here. And so now we are at public feedback on projects. You know, we've all gone through these in the meetings and reviewed them, and they're posted online, and we're, you know, trying to get public feedback on which projects people think are most important to be funded this year with the Community Preservation Act money available. So we're holding this public meeting right now. And there's also a survey online that people can take. And they can, make comments about just one project, or they can go through all of them and, let us know how they feel about funding those projects. So then after that happens, or kind of at the same time, we're all working on scoring projects with a rubric that we created. And then at our next meeting, we're going to be reviewing all the public input from the survey, from this meeting, from any emails that we get, and then also diving into all of our rubric scoring. So just to kind of get a, you know, big picture, what is everyone saying about these projects and what do we think? And so we'll, talk through all that at our next meeting. And then the following meeting, that's when we will be voting on project recommendations. And at that point, any projects that we recommend for funding, it goes to city council. If we don't recommend them for funding, then it can't go to city council to be funded. And then after that, city council will vote on whether to fund the projects as we recommend them. City council can decrease the amount or not fund a project that we recommend, but they can't fund a project that we don't recommend. Or they also can't increase the amount of money. So just to kind of go through what the projects, the applications that we received this year, these are categorized into the different groups. So first we have the, hold on, I had a description of all these, but it's on my computer and now I can't access my computer because I'm doing a presentation on it. Hmm. Why did I do that? I don't know. Anyway, so we first we have the city clerk put in an application for preservation of documents in City Hall, and they've requested $75,000 to do that. Franklin Community Co-op, Greenfield's Market Expansion, that project they've requested $200,000. These are all the historic preservation projects. And we can get into a little more detail once I kind of get through these. Garden Block LLC, that one is a facade restoration on the outside of the building on Main Street, and they've requested 34,800. And 278 Main Street is a cornice restoration project, which is like the top part of the building in the front. And they requested 20,000 for that. So that totals $329,800 in funding requested for historic projects. Community housing projects, which is defined by CPA as any projects that would house people with incomes up to 100% of the area mean income. So essentially affordable housing, but it depends on your definitions for different projects have different percent of AMI. So anyway, there's a downtown housing project requesting $50,000 for essentially evaluation of the alternatives for that. Oxbow Design Build Co-op at 187 Hope Street is requesting $170,000 for a two-family to build a new two-family home that would be affordable housing. And then there's a Habitat for Humanity project at 184 Petty Plain Road to build one single-family home, and that one's requesting $15,000. So in total, $235,000 requested for housing projects this year. And we didn't have any open space projects, which would be essentially, preserving like conservation land. We didn't have any of those this year, so that category is skipped. But we do have recreation projects. There's a Greenfield pickleball project application requesting $572,000 to build pickleball courts. There's a bike rack project requesting $3,900 to put bike racks at trailheads and in parks in town. There's a hillside park improvement project, $125,000. That one would be putting a shade structure over the benches near the splash pad and also extending the walkway. Site amenities project, 87,000 requested. That one was partially funded last year to build like concrete recreation structures throughout town on recreation land, like cornhole and chess tables and solar chargers, things like that, and a bike repair station as well. And then the last project is a trail wayfinding project, $135,000 requested. And that is for the Highland Park, Rocky Mountain area to put in signage and kiosks. And that one's $135,000. So $922,900 requested in recreation projects. So there's everything together. And if you see at the bottom, we have $300,000 available to put towards these projects. So this is where we're really hoping for a lot of, public feedback to let us know, what the community thinks is the priority to fund this year, because obviously we couldn't fund all of these projects, even if we wanted to, with the amount of money available. So as it says on the side there, you can view the project details on Greenfield's website. There's also a public comment form available online, and you can go to the CPC's page on the city's website and access that there. And so what's going to happen after this meeting? I kind of briefly said this already, but February 29th is when that form closes. So get your comments in by the end of the month. And then at our next meeting, March 21st at City Hall, and also via Zoom, we'll be, discussing the feedback and the projects. Then at our following meeting, March 28th, we'll be voting on recommendations. And following that, April to June, whenever it gets on City Council's agenda and they discuss it, they will be considering our recommendations and voting on potentially funding those projects. So that's all I have for our presentation. So now we just kind of want to open it up, and if people have questions, if you have questions about specific projects, if you have questions about our process, how we do things, really anything related to CPA that we can help you understand better. So any kind of questions like that. And then also, if you have specific feedback about any of these projects that you really think are important to you or that you really don't think should be funded, that's good feedback for us too. So I think what we'll do is open it up to people in person first, and then we'll check on Zoom and see if we have, or people can raise their hands on Zoom too if you have questions. So you could either come up here, or if you're more comfortable, we could bring a microphone to you and, just give us your name and address and let us know. I think we did have someone signed up. We're going to check the list and we'll start at the list. All right. So some people sign up, and whether some people write down their name even if they don't have a comment. So I'm going to read out your name, and if you don't have a comment, that's fine. We have Maria Kurtz on the list. So yeah, there's a microphone over there.
You just push the little button.
Hi, I'm Mariah Kurtz, 17 Holly Ave. I guess first I just want to say I'm really happy that Greenfield has community preservation, because there's clearly so many projects that need it. I am a Greenfield resident. I've also been a volunteer with Habitat for Humanity for about 10 years, and I'm currently the president of the board. We have proposed our project for a single-family home build on Petty Plain Road. There was previously a blighted house there that got knocked down a handful of years ago, and the property has come into our ownership. I'm personally on the build team for this project, and I'm really, really excited to be building a house just across town. I was really fortunate to be able to purchase my own home. At the time, I thought that the market was wild, and it only got wilder from there. So I feel really fortunate to own a home in Greenfield, and I would really like for that opportunity to be extended to more people. And I'll note that our project is an all-electric house. That's been our focus for quite a while here at Pioneer Valley Habitat, and we're doing a lot of work across the state to get other affiliates on board with that. And it is the replica of a house that we did in Florence with some adaptations to make it more suitable for the site. That was a big enough project, which was a kind of research project and pilot project into right-sizing homes to be appropriate for all families. And so it's a one-bedroom home, which is often hard to find, especially in affordable housing. And so it gives people the opportunity who are a single person or maybe a couple to have a home. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, the next one looks like it was crossed out, so I'll skip that one. And if they want to have a comment after that, we can come back. So we have Jeremy Ebsol, I think. I'm not, I can't tell what. That's okay. Come on up.
Hey everyone, Jeremy Ebersole, 17 Beach Street here in Greenfield. I just wanted to talk briefly in support of the garden block facade improvement project. My wife and I just bought a house in Greenfield last year and moved to the area from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And a big reason why we really loved Greenfield is the existence of this really fabulous movie theater, historic movie theater in our downtown. I do work in the field of historic preservation, trained as a historic preservationist, don't have any involvement at all in this particular project. But just think it's a real treasure that we have this theater, and the rarity of having an operating historic movie theater in historic downtown, I think is something that we really owe it to our community to support. Again, it is part of why we bought in an area that is walkable to the downtown. And I think as far as bang for the buck goes, there are really few projects that can do more to revitalize downtowns than supporting arts and culture in our downtowns, especially operating historic theaters, which obviously are bringing people into the area in the evenings, throughout the weekends, and those people are spending money at the neighboring shops and restaurants. And so having a vibrant and beautiful historic theater in town, I think is just something that is really important for us to continue to support and recognize how lucky we are to have it. I think we have a vibrant movie theater that looks great, and I think this project would help to make it look even better. And it looks from the project, from the description that I've read, that then my understanding, the owners have really done a great job to invest some of their own resources there as well, have been good stewards of the building. And this project looks eminently fundable as far as the bang for the buck. So I think for that $34,000, we get a lot of return on the investment. So encourage your support for the garden block.
All right, thank you. All right, so the last name we have on the list is Carol Letson.
Green, it's green. I'm Carol Letson, 29 Allen Street, and I'm glad to be here tonight. I didn't expect such a small audience feedback form, but I wanted to speak pro the housing funding and whatever can be done to support the additional housing downtown. I really want to encourage you to consider that. We do need to increase the amount of housing in the area. That's obvious to a lot of us. And the opportunity here is the amounts that are being asked for are a significant amount, but for for the large projects that are being considered for downtown, this is really doable. And I think it's great that these applications have been submitted, and I want you to consider funding them as a priority. I'm surprised there are no open space projects proposed. I don't have any to give you. But many of these other projects will, of course, require you just to cut some of them. They are very large. And isn't it nice that you have ambitious people in town who have grand ideas? So I think you have a great job ahead of you, and I wish you all well in doing those decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else in person who, yeah, come on up. And I see we do have one on Zoom as well.
Hello, my name is Shanti Douglas from 49 Arnold Lane. And I just have a few questions. I saw the total, so that's 300,000. So that gives us a good ballpark of what we have to work with. Just another clarifying question. Even though somebody has submitted a request for a certain amount, is that the amount, or can that be decreased in order to fund more, to share the wealth more with other?
Yeah, to answer that question, we can decrease the amount. If someone asks for 100,000, we could say, well, here's 30,000. And
Okay.
yeah, so that we did do that last year with some of the projects that we didn't have enough money to fund fully, but wanted to give some money to them.
Okay. Okay. I did have a chance to look at some of them, and it seemed like some of them had different opportunities within. So instead of just saying no completely, maybe it's a partial funding or over a few years. So that was part of the question that I had. The other one, and I did go through all of that material online. I had a question about the Cornice one. I don't know if there was a visual or something. I even drove by this morning of 278 Main Street and was kind of trying to look at what were they talking about, where it was a scrape and paint and just to redo.
Yeah, we do have a photo. Let me find that for you, and I'll share that. And just to kind of while I'm doing this, both of the last two people who were up here were talking about cutting projects, and I just wanted to remind people that if a project is not funded, they can reapply the next year. So
Okay.
if a project doesn't get full funding or doesn't get any funding, I almost had it. Okay, thanks. 278. Is it one of these photos? Oh yeah. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen here. I got the photo up. So it's this,
Top.
yeah, the top
Okay.
of the building there.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think, anything to support revitalizing the downtown is really important. It helps people come together and have that pride in community. So wonderful. That's all the questions I had. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, and I think I saw Stephanie's hand up first on Zoom.
Hi, thank you, Stephanie Duclos, Greenfield. I had a question. If when we disperse the money for the CPA funds, do we cross-reference whether or not a preservation grant in some other form has been issued to, say, the facade, perhaps? It's a question. I don't know the actual answer. So I'm curious if we are funding someone's lack of maintenance. I just want to caution that we look at if they had been given grants that required, you know, the preservations or whatever for downtown or CBDG grants that they're not complying with. I want to wholeheartedly support the Habitat for Humanity money. Honestly, if I could delegate it, I would give it all to them. I think it's a great project. I love when everybody groups together and really makes a community effort out of providing housing. I had presented a few ideas to you in an email and a proposed resolution from Councillor Minhas. And I just want to also have you consider perhaps rolling some of those funds in a land opportunity trust. Sorry. And I want to wholeheartedly support the bike racks wherever we can put them. I think they're necessary, especially along certain areas that don't have them. And, you know, if you want to take a hike in, I can tell you I've had at least 10 bikes of mine stolen over the last 20 years. So, you know, it's important to be able to lock up your things when you're in an area where you might have to leave them for a while. That's all. Thank you so much for letting me speak.
All right, thank you. And so first you had a question that was about whether we look into other ways they've gotten funding. And I guess the only thing I can add, maybe Christian, it looked like maybe he was going to say something, but I was going to add that in our application process, when you know, people are asking for a certain amount of CPA funding, we also ask, you know, what the total cost is and where they're getting the rest of the funding for. So this is just the example because I had that one open, the cornice. You know, the total project cost is $38,500 and they were requesting $20,000 in CPA funds. And then, you know, in our application, you know, we ask where other sources of funding are and what, you know, what the CPA funding is going to be used for specifically. So I know that doesn't exactly answer your question, but I think that's the extent in our application process. I think Donna might have something.
Yeah, I would just add, we don't ask historically if you have been funded by another source and not appropriately used the money. That's not a question that comes up on our application.
So I will say every
Thank you.
year, yeah, and I will say every year we do review our applications and our rubrics and everything like that and update them as we, you know, try to make it better and better over time. So questions like that about like the application process and how we look into things are very helpful to help us, you know, maybe there are things that we haven't thought of to ask either when reviewing applications or on our application. So it's good to get questions like that too. Okay, and I see Luis has raised. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Louise Amio. I live on Madison Circle, Precinct 6. And I think the choice of programs is a tough one. There are some excellent ones. I would like to support the city clerk's preservation of records. I think that that's important for any community. I like the idea of the garden facade because I think that it's good for our community to have an attractive face to the public, if you will. Similarly, the cornice sounds appealing, and that leaves about $70,000 more or less for housing. Housing is always a primary goal of mine, and these others are just worthy distractions, if you will, to my housing quest, but I think they are worthy of our attention. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I don't see anyone else with their hand raised online. Anyone else in person have anything to say or anyone else online? All right, I'm not seeing any. I will just remind everyone, I sound like a broken record, but please fill out the survey online. We got a lot of great data from that last year. And, it really helped us see what people's priorities were, which projects were priorities. And as I said, that's open through the end of the month. So please go fill that out. Yeah. Does anyone else have anything they want to add before we move on with the rest of our meeting? Oh, yeah. The question was, what if I can't remember if I've already filled it out? I think you could email. It's been up since, do you know what date it went up, Christian? It's like 2 weeks, I think. If you're not sure, you could email Christian. His email address is on the CPC's webpage, and he could tell you if you filled it out or not. Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming, and thanks for all the comments and questions. We will look forward to more going forward, and looking forward to reviewing everyone's survey results as well. All right, so I'm going to get back to our agenda. We do have a few other things to get to for our meeting tonight. So next on our agenda, we had begin review of fiscal year 2024 Community Preservation Act projects. I don't remember specifically what we were what we were thinking with that. Do you?
Yeah, I put it on there. Me and Travis put it on there in case you want to begin discussing them. Obviously, still waiting to get the full results of the feedback form, as well as for all of you to really complete your scoring sheets. So it might be a bit premature to dive into a full discussion. So, but it's on there in case anyone wants to talk about it.
Okay. I guess I'll open it up if anyone has anything they want to start discussing now, or do we want to wait and kind of digest what we've heard tonight, and then once we get the survey results and wait till our next meeting?
I think we agreed that we were not going to fill out our forms until we'd heard from the public, and then we wanted to put our forms together and then have the discussion. And I think I would prefer to wait because things change once we get a look at what we've got from everyone.
Okay, so we'll hold off and start, the full review at our next meeting. I will say, everyone feel free to come to our next meeting or via Zoom and see all of our fancy graphs and and data analysis that we'll be doing. So that'll be fun if you're into that sort of thing. All right. So on our agenda, we have approval of administrative account payments, copycat invoice for feedback session flyers, $59.
I move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the expenditure from our administrative account. It was seconded. Any other discussion on that before we vote on it? Okay, since we do have one person remote, we do have to do a roll call vote. So we'll do a roll call vote on approving that expenditure. Susan?
Yes.
Wisty?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
All right, and I'm also a yes, so that passes unanimously. All right. So now we're to the old business section of our agenda, which and we have timeline for CPA cycle going forward discussion. So for anyone who wasn't at our previous meeting, we began discussing whether we wanted to sort of decouple our timeline from the capital improvement timeline, so we're not overlapping with making our recommendations the same time as capital recommendations. So we had discussed maybe moving things up next time so that we would end our, we would be making recommendations in like November, December, I think. So I don't, Susan, do you have something you want to?
Yeah, I was just wondering, Christian, you had were doing some research on that. Were you able to do it?
Yeah, I put an email out to the finance department, hoping to have a conversation with them on what they would actually recommend on what kind of timeline we should use. Unfortunately, I was not able to have that meeting before this meeting, but it should be soon. And I don't think that would really have any impact on the upcoming cycle, because if anything, if you're shifting the cycle up, you'd actually really have to wait a little bit longer for the next one, because we'd basically have to be starting here right now, and if you wanted to be shifting it up. So that's okay for now, but I will be discussing with them what they recommend.
For the public, what we're talking about is that the city has a capital improvements process, which generally is decided upon in the springtime. And it's usually after we make our decisions and get ready to move forward. And some of the projects that we receive tell us that they're planning to, it's part of the capital budget, but they don't know if they're going to get the capital budget. So we're in this situation where the city may be putting capital money into a project, and then we may be putting money into a capital project, and it may be possible for us to move our money into something that would not be eligible for the capital money. So we're trying to figure out how to make our process work so that we don't end up being in a situation where we don't know if capital funds have been provided to a project before we do our work. So so it's a process of trying to move our schedule in that direction.
So I would just say that I am in favor of pushing the CPC process back a bit so that we're getting applications right around this time. I think that, I mean, one of the things that we deal with when we do a fall, winter push is that we're up against holidays and people are very busy. It's sometimes difficult for people to get here to talk about their projects. I know that if we were talking about doing it in the summer, my recreation director would probably kill me because she's so busy at that time. So my recommendation, or what I feel would really work well, is if we were doing the applications and getting feedback now, and people know that they're also going in for capital money, but then those capital grants are are given out by like June, and we are doing our deliberative process, and we can see, oh, okay, this one got funded almost all the way. We can make up the difference. And I don't think that the fiscal year piece is an issue, because I know in the past, last year, we were able to fund the bocce ball court, knowing that the city had already funded part of it. We were able to push it over the line. So I like the idea of having them go first, so that they're not saying, well, maybe we'll wait and see if CPC funds it first. I feel like it's a chicken or the egg kind of a thing.
Yeah, and I guess I'll add, I think what we talked about last time was potentially for this next year, we would almost like skip half a year. Like this next year, it could be good in a way, because we could use that extra time, when we're doing our public hearing and getting public feedback on the community preservation plan. We could have more meetings about that, and maybe meetings in different locations, and get more feedback. And so it could kind of be a year to like, get a lot of feedback on how we're doing so far and what people want to see going forward. And then that would push the application process back to the schedule that we want for the following year. Yeah, go ahead.
There's also the aspect of, when do we know what we're getting from the state?
Yeah, you find that out in November. I believe it was November. So right now, you know what the amount is for this upcoming distribution, but it's not really affecting how much money you have available for this current slate of projects, because you're kind of taking half the amount from the previous year and then taking half the amount from the upcoming year, which are both available to utilize. Obviously, the funds that'll be coming in farther in the future are less certain. And so that's what Travis was talking about, was if there's a way to wait and let the funds build up. And so then you're always working from a very specific pot of money, as opposed to having to work on your current fiscal year's budget, because it is very finicky with the distribution from the state. It can be in flux if the registry fees change. Whereas the money the city collects is pretty certain. You could probably go all the way right up to the estimate and you'd be fine. But because of the state match, it makes it more complicated.
Yeah, and I'll just add that I think we had discussed last time that essentially if we did push back the next one, we would be, just to clarify, we would be using the funds that we have instead of using the funds we have plus predicting what funds we'll have, so that it would make things a little more certain, because for anyone who's not aware, the city collects money for CPA, and then there's a state match, and the state match comes in much later, and we're not exactly sure year to year what that percent match is going to be. So we kind of have to do this guessing game where we think like, well, it's probably going to be at least 20%, and then like budget that for the next year. Whereas this way it would be, last year we got 30%, so we're going to use that number, and it doesn't matter what the next year is going to be because that'll be for the following year.
Go ahead.
Oh.
Go ahead, David.
I was just going to say that I really like this idea of pushing it out, essentially a cycle, and using that extra time, like you said, Travis, to revisit the plan and the priorities of the plan. And I think having it be, known actual funds that we're spending, just, it makes so much sense. And the alignment with the decision about the capital, it just seems like a very compelling idea to me.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Christian, do we need to get the information from fiscal folks before we make this decision, or can we make this decision now?
I definitely wait to get what they think about it. Because it really depends. They might actually view it entirely opposite. I don't know if they will, where you should be working out of your current fiscal year's funding. I'm not sure exactly what other communities do, but I mean, it's more of a preference or recommendation, because right now you're working from both. You're working from previous fiscal years that have built up a little bit, but you're also dipping into the current fiscal year. And then next year you'll have a little bit left over from that fiscal year, and then it keeps repeating. We're using half and half. So you could go either direction really, and it would be good to know what finance thinks about that.
So since our next meeting is the 21st of March, if we were to plan to be able to have this discussion at that meeting and make a decision, that would put us in a pretty good space, I think.
Yeah, I will really try to have that meeting between now and then. I know finance is obviously busy because it's budget season, but I think it should be a pretty quick conversation that we can kind of settle on a timeline that they agree with, and then I'll bring that to all of you.
All right, thanks for all the discussion. Anything else anyone wants to add? Wisty, raise her hand. Go ahead, Wisty.
Yeah, when we have that discussion, in addition to reviewing our plan and seeing what we're going to do, I want to build into our plan more active attempts to contact the public. I think it's essential that we do that and that we really schedule it in somehow. Okay.
All right, thank you. That's
Mhm.
good. Good feedback. All right, anyone have anything else on that agenda item? All right, hearing none, we'll move on Prior year CPA project updates. Have we gotten any updates since the last meeting?
No updates since the last meeting. There probably will be some at the next meeting because we're having last year's projects report quarterly. Most of them reported in around November and December. It's based on when they signed their contracts. So there should be some coming in right about now or in March. So
Okay, thank you. Well, and that's the end of our agenda for tonight. So I guess our next meeting is March 21st at 5:30 p.m. in the City Hall meeting room. We will also have a Zoom link available for that if anyone wants to join remotely. And that meeting, as I said before, is where we'll be, discussing more all the public input that we've received, all the, emails that we've received, all the comments on the survey that we've received, and then also our scoring rubrics as well. So that'll be an exciting one.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All right, all those in favor of adjourning? Aye.
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous. We're adjourned at 6:19 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.